We are well into summer, and that means the preseason is right around the corner. With the preseason coming, that means new player takes, new values, all of these things that we can do with new information. Before we get there, though, let's take a look at a couple of my favorite Dynasty hot takes heading into the 2023 preseason. My first hot take, and this is probably getting less and less, hot takey by the day here, but I think Brandon Aiyuk is going to be drafted ahead of Deebo Samuel come our January ADP. Basically, post 2023 season startups, Aiyuk is going to be taken ahead of Deebo Samuel. There's a number of things that lead into this, but I think one of the biggest factors and something that I care about the most from a redraft standpoint and even from a dynasty perspective is Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel splits with and without CMC. With CMC on the field, Deebo Samuel saw a 21.5% target share. Brandon Aiyuk saw a 23.2% target share. Without CMC, these are drastically different, right? Deebo Samuel sees a 28% target share. Brandon Aiyuk sees only a 22.2% target share. The reason for this, I think, is CMC and Deebo Samuel operate a ton of the same field, right? They take a lot of the same targets, whereas Brandon Aiyuk is the traditional outside wide receiver. His value and where he operates isn't going to be affected by an elite receiving talent like CMC, right? At least compared to Deebo Samuel. We're talking about longevity, right? We're talking about dynasty value. Yes, Deebo Samuel is going to be 28 in his prime, but his play style is not conducive to a guy that should be around at peak levels for a very long time, right? A wide receiver that's seeing a ton of carries isn't a traditional win one-on-one type of guy. He's going to struggle long-term. At least, we may have very well have seen his peak, which was, 2 seasons ago now at this point. Whereas Brandon Aiyuk, who's playing on the outside, his body's not taking hits. He's not exposed to a high injury role just as a traditional outside wide receiver. At only 25, turning 26 years old next year, Brandon Aiyuk should continue to grow and get better, whereas, again, I think we've seen the best of Deebo Samuel. Sticking with the wide receiver position, let's take a look at Jordan Addison. Currently, he's being drafted as a top 23 wide receiver, right? It's a fancy, long way to say he's being drafted as wide receiver 23. I think this time next season, even January, right? January ADP, he will be drafted as a top 15 wide receiver in Dynasty. What's the basis? What's the path for him to get there? Well, he's already operating in a high volume offense. And by that, I mean, he is in an offense that has their wide receivers run a ton of routes. And he's ideally taking over for Adam Thielen, right? Adam Thielen last season wasn't great, but he did run the second most routes in football. So Jordan Addison, right, steps into a large role that is ready-made for a wide receiver to produce. Jordan Addison has a clear path to be the highest scoring rookie from this rookie class, at least, in year one. I'm not going to take him ahead of JSN. JSN is the clear-cut better prospect. I think long-term, he's the better wide receiver. But Jordan Addison easily has a path to, a 20% target share, maybe even higher. On top of that, he can put up 850 to 900 yards just because of the role and this offense. So if any of those things happen, he's going to fly up rankings, right? You have older wide receivers going ahead of him that will naturally drop. That should automatically lead to some kind of increase. But I think Jordan Addison's going to make it very difficult for us to not put him and Justin Jefferson up there as, one of those elite duos. Now, if you guys want 2 additional hot takes on this video, check out the DLF YouTube membership. I have 2 more in an additional video over there. Go ahead, check that out, guys. $7 a month for bonus content, additional videos from Addison and myself that'll just supplement a lot of the content you see on the YouTube channel right now. And to close us out, let's take a look at another rookie. This time we are turning to the running back position in Zach Charbonnet. Looking at the dynasty landscape, even with Zach Charbonnet in Seattle alongside Kenneth Walker, I think he is going to be ranked as a top 15 running back in January ADP after the season. That may sound a little crazy, right? He's currently being drafted outside of the top 24 running backs. But when you look at Zach Charbonnet as a player and what he can do in Seattle, it's very easy to see the path for how he skyrockets up rankings. There is clearly something that they saw on tape that made them say, Zach Charbonnet needs to be a second-round pick. He needs to be a part of this offense from day one. And I think that's going to be his ability as a pass catcher. He should immediately step in and take that pass catching role from Kenneth Walker, who did fine with that job last year to some extent. But Charbonnet is just a more polished receiver. He is a better pass blocker. Those things are going to get him on the field immediately. And then when you start to look at Kenneth Walker and really dig into how he did last season, and let me be clear, Kenneth Walker is a top 10 running back for me as well. But there's some concerns about the success rate inside the red zone, between the tackles, those types of things that just led to some inconsistencies in the ground game. Zach Charbonnet can clean a lot of that up. And then on top of that, you just look at some of the guys ahead of him. Zach Charbonnet is naturally going to rise up rankings because age matters at running back. There's no way around it, right? There's a few guys you can look at ahead of him that I think I'd bet a lot of money would be drafted behind Zach Charbonnet by the end of this season. But will just naturally fall, right? Dalvin Cook is already on the decline. Joe Mixon on the decline. Aaron Jones is going to be 29. Derrick Henry is going to be 30. Miles Sanders is tied to a rookie quarterback that, while I think will produce, he's still going to be turning 27. So things are going to get dicey, and Charbonnet is going to be turning 23, a second year in the NFL. We're going to have enough to look and say, man, if he gets work, he can be a league-winning type of running back. And those kind of thoughts, those kind of narratives, we see it every single season. That's what's going to push Zach Charbonnet up. I'm very confident Zach Charbonnet is going to be a great talent at the next level. That alone is going to push him well up ranks into the top 15 this time next year. All right, guys, that is all I have for you. Again, if you want extra videos, check out the DLF YouTube membership. You got 2 additional hot takes, just following up to this video. If you guys have questions, comments, drop them down below. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.